Welcome to the Gamecast. I'm your host, Mark from Pix in Motion, joined by Greg from Pixel Play Cafe. And today marks episode 2 of our launch titles miniseries. Today we're going to talk about Microsoft's very own Kameo. And this was a launch title by Rare, and quite honestly, it's one that, well, I played the demo when it first came out, and I wanted the game and wanted it and never got it until actually just a couple of months ago.
Yeah, what a nice little GameCube game this is.
Yeah, yep, that's true.
I mean, I somewhat mean that sarcastically, but let's be real, a lot of this game screams GameCube.
Yeah, so let's dive in and explain all that stuff.
Obviously, Microsoft bought Rare from Nintendo after Rare had already started work on a couple of GameCube projects. One of which, the only one that came out on the GameCube, was Star Fox Adventures. And it was literally a couple days after that Microsoft bought Rare. Yep. And I cannot help but think that this and a certain other 360 launch title were both in development on the GameCube, because if you look at them, they both kind of look the part, and they both kind of play the part, for better or worse.
Yeah. Now, I do believe, as far as Kameo goes, I believe that they probably started to port it over to the Xbox, because, you know, when they were purchased, I think the Xbox still had a lot of life left, and I'm guessing they were porting it over, and then of course Microsoft said, hey, guess what? We're not going to really support the Xbox much longer. We got the 360 coming. We need you to port that to this.
Well, you could be right, but I have another theory to set out there too. My theory is that when Microsoft bought them, they were looking at the titles they had in development and chose a few to bring to the original Xbox.
Okay.
Namely, Grabbed by the Ghoulies and Conquer Live and Reloaded. I think they chose those because of the place they were in development. Probably they're probably farther along and could release a lot sooner.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I think a game like Kameo was far more ambitious, and they probably purposely put that off till later. And I don't know if they ever stopped developing it for a while, maybe, but I do think it went straight from GameCube to 360 through some path, because a lot of it does scream GameCube, and the things that don't, like the amount of enemies on screen and the higher resolution textures and stuff, those are only things that you would have really saw on the 360, not so much on the original Xbox.
Well, I'm on Wikipedia here, and under development, this is interesting. It says here that development of Kameo spanned 4 consoles.
Wow.
It was started on the 64, and then went to the GameCube, and then to the Xbox, and then ultimately to the 360.
Is there a citation for that?
Well, they got, let's see, for the 64, it says Rare's new making of video looks at Kameo. So yeah, yeah.
Wow, that is a lot of system.
And I mean, I didn't know that. I didn't look it up until just now, so that's kind of cool. But think about it, though. I mean, during that time frame, at least with the 64 and the GameCube, I mean, Rare was still on fire.
Yeah.
Their games were really, really good. So this one, I bet you when they were first making it, was a bit too ambitious for the hardware.
Yeah. It's interesting to think that Nintendo decided to sell Rare at the point they did, because I feel like this game, along with the other Microsoft launch title for the 360, would have been really good for the GameCube lineup. Because this game is like a unique take on the Zelda formula, which Nintendo kind of needed, despite the fact that Star Fox Adventures was literally the Zelda formula. This is a little bit more unique than that was, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I really like how, well, I didn't get too far in the game, but like in the first level, you start out with all your powers.
Yeah.
And
sort of.
Well, I mean,
as you learn sometime later.
It's pretty awesome. I like the characters, like that plant.
Yeah.
That you can turn into it. Man, that was so cool.
It boxes. Like, seriously, it's
yeah,
a box
I love that.
Plant. I don't get it, but okay.
But see, that's rare for you. You know, they come up with some pretty creative stuff.
Yeah.
And the what, I guess it's a rock creature of some kind. Almost kind of looks like an armadillo, but it's like a rock made out of rocks. That one was kind of neat. And then you got the, like, I don't even know what it'd be considered. Like the ice monster or something.
Yeah. I can't think of what they called it right now. But yeah, I know what you're saying. It's kind of cool because you can throw like ice darts and stuff.
Yeah. And you use him to climb up various like ice walls.
Yeah. Now, I have some thoughts on that intro stage, because it was cool that it was like action packed and they had all this stuff going on around you and all that. But I felt really overwhelmed because I felt like I had to learn so much stuff like in the moment. And yeah, it's technically a tutorial level anyways, but I think that the fact that there was so much action and stuff kind of made it hard to learn, because you're like trying not to die. I mean, it turns out it wasn't even like challenging you at all, but it just looked busy, even though there wasn't really anything that was going to happen to you. And I felt like that was kind of a misstep, because it kind of lays a lot on the player right out of the gate. And the worst part about it is that Kameo herself is like 100% useless in that level.
Yeah, if you don't have the powers.
Yeah, well, in that first level, like, you can't do anything with her. You have to transform into these other characters. So she has like that flip kick or whatever, but that was almost useless the entire time I played the game. So I don't know. I mean, it felt like it was cool to see all this variety in gameplay, but man, like, drip feed it a little bit, guys. That's how I felt. It's like, slow down, introduce these one by one. Don't just throw it all out there for me to figure out, which is kind of the opposite of what I usually say about games and tutorials. But like, each character you play as is quite different in this game. So
yeah, they all serve their own purpose.
Right. And it's cool. And after I did come to grips with it, and I got through the tutorial level and the game started to open up, then it started to become second nature and got a whole lot easier to manage. But that first level, I don't know. Like, I kind of love it for what it was trying to do. Kind of don't, because of what it failed to do. So, yeah. Other than that, though, I didn't get much farther beyond that. I did like the first, I guess you could say, mission after all that, because of course you finish that level and Kameo loses her powers. So the rest of the game, you're
Yep.
setting out to get those powers back. You do obtain powers that you didn't have at the beginning of the game, which is pretty awesome.
Which I haven't got to yet. So
Yeah, I got one.
I'm in the just got past those tutorials with the teacher or whatever he was.
Yeah, and man, that era, they love their tutorials. You realize that their 6th and 7th generation of game consoles games, they just had so much tutorial.
Well, in the case of this game, it's 5th, 6th, and 7th gen.
I guess so, yeah. But
oh my god,
the 5th gen didn't really have much for tutorial. Let's be real. Like some games did, like Zelda kind of did, but it was more like even that game was like play it, and they'll tell you how to do certain things like lock on to enemies. But man, the generations that followed were just like, okay, take my hand, let's cross the street together. It's like, okay, this is stupid. I've played video games before.
yeah.
But I do think this was a pretty fun game.
I think visually it's very pretty.
Yeah.
Even today. I remember when it first came out and I was playing the demo, I was blown away by how well it looked.
Yeah.
And I found this game at a thrift shop, and it was actually, believe it or not, it was unopened.
Wow.
I had to open it because it's one that I really wanted to play. And it has this sticker on the cover. It says Microsoft Company Store Purchase, not to be sold, purchased by, and then it has a blank spot and it says employee number under it. So it was like a Microsoft employee that bought it, and I'm guessing they never played it or something.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. And I'm glad I opened it because it's a good game, and now that it works on the Xbox One, it's upscaled and everything. It looks really nice.
Yeah, I did play it on the Xbox One through the Rare Replay collection, but that's literally the same version that you played. And
Yeah.
I gotta say, like, it looks really good. I don't know what changes they made with the Xbox One S or the original Xbox One, but I believe on the X they have it 4K enhanced, which would be quite a sight.
Yeah, I would like to see that, to be honest, but I don't have 4K TV yet, so
One day.
or an Xbox One X, to be honest.
Yeah, but you can watch Digital Foundry videos in 4K if you have the TV at least.
I wonder if they reviewed this game on there.
I feel like I've seen it somewhere, and it has to be there. But there's a few things I want to mention, though. Going back to the Zelda-like gameplay that this game seems to have. My initial impression before I really sat down and played this game was that it was more of a platformer in the vein of like Banjo Kazooie or something like that, like other Rare games.
Yeah.
And I was wrong, I think I was pretty much wrong, because this definitely shares more DNA with Zelda, where it's kind of a series of dungeons you go to, even though they're not technically dungeons, they're segmented areas that act like dungeons.
Sure.
And then there's some other things. You even get a horse. Like, seriously, a horse, just like in Zelda. And it's kind of cool because when you get the horse, it happens to be at a time when there's like this huge battle with like a ton of enemies on screen, which had to be super, super impressive back in its time, because there was a lot of enemies on the screen at that moment. And it's basically like they're telling you, don't worry about these guys, we'll take care of them. You get here to get this item or whatever. And it's like, okay, so you're just plowing through with your horse, getting to your destination. It's pretty awesome, and it's kind of a semi-open world, I think, from what I gathered. There's puzzles and stuff, just like easy puzzles in the vein of Zelda. Also, really interesting.
I'd like to talk about, let's see, apparently the game sold over 700,000 copies in 3 years.
Wow.
Now, I mean, that's 3 years. That
Yeah.
takes quite a while. But they were saying that it sold 300,000 copies. Let's see here. Well, I don't have an exact number, but they're saying that the launch was actually really good for both this and Perfect Dark Zero, as far as rare games, for the 360 launch.
Mm-hmm.
And even though the game itself, like, this is crazy, the review scores are not that. I mean, they're kind of all over the board. Eurogamer gives it a 5 out of 10. GameSpot 8.7, IGN 8.4, Play 9.5 out of 10. Metacritic is 79 out of 100. So,
wow.
It's and this is funny. The Times 5 stars.
What?
It's like, wait a minute, 5 stars? Are you kidding me?
I don't know about that.
I mean, to me it's a good game, but I did have some issues. I mean, I don't know if it's really an issue, but like the controls were something I had to get used to.
Yeah.
It wasn't something I could just jump in and play. I had to.
That was one of my gripes.
Get used to.
One of my gripes too. It felt kind of clunky and like the learning curve.
Old. It was old. You could tell this game spanned several consoles because just of the controls.
Yeah, and it's funny because if it was developed for, like, even if it came out on the GameCube, I think it probably would have controlled better just because they were kind of in the Nintendo mode, But going to Xbox, that's a different controller, like more than just the button layout and stuff. People don't necessarily realize it, but the analog stick feels different on those, and the face buttons are set up a little different and everything. So,
especially during the launch, because you had the Duke.
Yeah, with the original Xbox.
And those buttons were still different. Yep. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I thought it was a pretty steep learning curve with those controls. It was a little rough at first, but.
And then because I know it's not with all the characters you can turn into, but the ice troll or ice monster, whatever he is, when you throw the ice spear, you can go into first person.
Yeah.
That was that part. The controls needed some help. I mean, for me, it was pretty bad.
I didn't really notice anything with that, but it was, like I said, overall that intro level was a little rough. I got the impression when I finished playing the game and I was kind of just thinking about it, I got the impression that the game needed like another 3 months or so in the oven just to iron out the kinks,
Yeah, fix, get some polish going on in there.
And I think it would have made for a much better game that might have turned into a franchise for Microsoft.
I honestly, after playing it, I kind of wish that they would revisit it.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that they could. I mean, I haven't played Sea of Thieves, so I don't know how well the Rare team these days, are going. But this would be kind of cool to see. Or if they, I guess, I don't know. I'd like to either see a complete remaster of it and fix all the issues, or maybe a sequel.
I'd be down for a sequel. I think the game has a lot of potential. Overall, though, I don't know that this one really lives up to it. Maybe I need to play more, because obviously I didn't play that far. But it seems to have a lot going on, but so far it doesn't really feel like it's landing.
Yeah, here, this is how I will quote this here real quick. Critics praised the core morphing concept, but criticized its repetitive gameplay, awkward controls, and easy combat, disorganized introduction, and overemphasis on the tutorials.
Yeah, all that stuff I agree with.
we were just saying that right now.
Man. Dead on, I guess.
Then they're saying Eurogamer wrote that that the fundamentals were, the fundamental idea was good. The basically everything else being repetitive.
Yeah.
Was
repetitive.
Issue.
That's probably the word I was looking for. I was thinking like formulaic, because it was like, go here, defeat these enemies, open this gate. Go here, get this item, unlock this door. And
yeah, and it also says often laborious.
Yeah.
So you're working. Get to work, kid.
Yeah. It has a lot of good ideas, but it's definitely not perfect. And I would say, as far as recommendations go, if you're a person who likes Rare's previous work or enjoys like Zelda style games a lot, definitely check it out. But if not, watch some Let's Plays first. See what you think then. Kind of approach it with caution.
And actually, I mean, obviously, if you're into this, and you're probably into other Rare games, just get Rare's Replay.
Yeah, the Rare Replay collection on Xbox One.
Because, that's cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Instead of going out and buying all the games separate, you got that, and they're all 1080p or 4K if you're on Xbox One X. So
yeah, it's a good deal.
I think that's a no-brainer.
There's like 20-something games in there, I think. So it's definitely a good deal. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, same here. I really like the concept of everything. And like I said before, you could tell it was developed for something else first. I didn't realize it started out on 64 though. So with that being said, tune in next time. We're actually going to hit another Rare game on the 360, and that'll be Perfect Dark Zero. That one might not be as nice as this one, at least for me. So, with all that being said, thanks for tuning in, and like, share, and subscribe, and we will talk to you later.